Hey everyone, it's Helen here. Third time's a charm. I've been trying to make like just a 5 minute video, and of course, I keep getting distracted. So I thought, I'll come try to hide in my office. I don't know how well it's gonna go. So just wanted to make a quick little video today. I just got done reading a little bit in my Bible. Okay, guys, look at this. There's tape on it. It's pretty much destroyed on the outside. It's been everywhere with me, literally. I've traveled with it. It's been to humid locations. It's been stuffed in suitcases, purses, you name it. But that doesn't change the content inside, which is absolutely still perfect. So that's what's important, but I probably do need to get it refurbished at some time. But you know what? This just means that I've been reading it, definitely reading it. It's been through a lot of tough times with me. Right now, I've decided to kind of go through and start reading through Psalms again. So if you've never read Psalms, or if you haven't read it in a while, go through it again. Wow, I swear it just speaks to me differently every like single time. But the thing that I love about it with late King David is that he was going through some real deal stuff. He was suffering. I mean, life was hard for King David for a while, and he was just calling out to the Lord, like, "Where are you? And I need you." And help me, and quit hiding from me. And there was a lot of moments of sickness for him and sadness for him. But I think the thing that I loved the most about it was that even though he was going through all of those tough times like we do in life, he sat there and he praised God through all of it. He magnified him. He was just like, "I know you can help me. I know you can restore me. I know you'll be my vindicator and a God of justice." And so that's what I loved the most about King David. And I have to do that every day in my own life right now, every single day, with just like the enemies of life that come against us. Granted, I don't know how many of us are going to have armies of people, coming against us, trying to kill us, stringing their bows at us. However, I think that we do have the enemies of life, whether it's sicknesses, or we're fighting with family members or our jobs or finances, and just whatever it is, we have enemies coming at us. So I don't know, if you get a chance, read through the book of Psalms. It'll encourage you. I love it. I love King David's heart. I think we can all relate. And most importantly, I just love watching God come through, because he comes through over and over and over again in the Bible. So love it. So anywho, I wanted to talk today just a little bit about something that happened to us a couple weeks ago. I'm just going to just share stories on my channel. So just whatever is kind of on my heart for the day, that's what I'm going to share. So hopefully you'll follow along, and maybe you'll get some enjoyment out of it. But 2 weeks ago, so we are obviously October 21st today, 2020, we decided to go to Cancun, Mexico. I know a lot of people are thinking, like, why in the world would you be traveling right now with COVID? However, my family and we have already had COVID. So we thought, okay, it's probably safe for us to go. I mean, nobody really knows at this point if it is or if it isn't, but we figured, okay, we've had it. It's probably relatively safe for us to go. We were scheduled to go in May. We go every May because we have like this little timeshare thing. So it kind of holds us, our feet, accountable there, so that we can go down and hang out and visit. I got animals in here visiting with me, sorry. But it got canceled. And so I thought, oh, we'll reschedule for October. October will be fine. It'll be safe. I forgot about it being hurricane season down there. Well, I forgot, but I didn't forget. I used to be a flight attendant, so I know that when I used to fly in there, it used to be pretty rainy this time of year. Like, they'd have those big, heavy monsoon rains. However, it just wasn't on my mind in May. I thought October will be great. By then, COVID will be probably, hopefully, gone. But none of the above. None of the above. So we did end up deciding we'd go. So it was me, Brian, my son, and then his friend Richter. We just decided we'll take the kids out of school for a few days. We're going to go. We're going to get away. We're going to enjoy the sunshine and relax, get out of here, because we live in Casper, Wyoming, and for us, we don't have hurricanes here. We don't have any of that kind of stuff. And we do have like tropical storm winds, I mean, hello, sometimes they're 50, 60, 70 mile per hour winds, just because it's Monday, So we do get like hard winds, but we don't have tornadoes typically. We don't have earthquakes here. Very rare. Well, I don't know, maybe a little tiny tremor. And we definitely do not have hurricanes. And so for us, that's kind of a big deal. So other people, you're probably like, we see it all the time. So you can just skip past this video if that's the case. But we were down there and we were traveling to Colorado. So we get to Colorado and we're ready to take 10 days of vacation. And then we are getting ready to check in for our flight down in Denver. and we find out that some of the airlines had canceled because there was a tropical storm moving into the Cancun area the following day when we were supposed to fly out. So we're like, oh, okay. But our airline hadn't canceled yet. So we get to the airport the next day, we get checked in, which was smooth as can be. So if you haven't traveled yet, you guys, it really was an amazing experience. I mean, overall inside the airport and stuff, yeah, you have to wear your mask, but you can take it down to eat or drink or whatever. People were social distancing to the best of their ability. Security was smooth. Everything really went really smooth when we were at the airport. So I mean, there was just absolutely no issues whatsoever there. We get to our gate and it's still showing that our flight's on time. We're gonna leave and everything. And then, but I'm like, oh, well, why is this airline canceled? And why is this airline canceled? That's weird. I don't really want to fly into a tropical storm. That's not something I want to do. And then I guess a couple hours later, they're like, you guys aren't going anywhere. There's a tropical storm in Cancun. So we're like, okay, great. So we end up leaving the airport thinking, hey, we may not even make it to Cancun this time again. But we thought it's probably for the best. We'll sit in Colorado for a couple of days, see if we can't get out because we knew flights would be delayed and, backed up now. But then the next day, it looked like we were going to get to take off. So it was like, okay, so we did make it to Cancun. And everything went smooth in Cancun too. So in case you're thinking about traveling, I didn't see anything different while we were down there. The airport, I mean, getting through customs, immigration, everything went really smooth. In fact, everything was wonderful down there. I mean, everybody was working just as hard as they always do. It was absolutely gorgeous that first day that we got in there. Everything was amazing. I felt like it was safe because I know I have people say like, well, is it safe? Is it the same? Is it this? Is that? And everything was really, really great. The only thing that I can even tell you that we even sort of noticed was it was obviously quiet, just like everywhere else. They're struggling right now because obviously they're a place that really, really relies on tourism. And with the COVID, obviously a lot of people haven't been able to travel there. And so even though that sounds like there was about 40,000 tourists down there at the time, all through like the area, you wouldn't know it because the beaches were kind of quiet, the swimming pools were quiet, the restaurants and everything. But you know what? It was actually, I felt like very enjoyable. So, I mean, I felt for the people down there. So my hearts go out to them, because I know that they're struggling. And so, but overall, it was a great experience for the first couple days. So we get into day 2, and then all of a sudden we find out there's going to be a hurricane coming in. But we're like, a hurricane? And it was like, it was a hurricane warning. But what they had seen on the models was like it was going to be coming in a little bit later in the week, and at that point they couldn't really tell. And so then as the evening went on, though, it went like, oh, this could be a Cat 5, a Cat 4, and so we were like, oh no, what are we gonna do? Here we are in Cancun, and it's supposed to just pummel in on us. This is where it's supposed to make landfall, and if you've never been in one, it's just like we were freaking. Even as believers, it was kind of like, God, what are we supposed to do here? Brian, he's a retired fireman, which is kind of funny. So he kind of goes into the mode of like, emergency mode, like, okay, well, what are we going to do here? Trying to make a plan, getting on, the phone, trying to get airline tickets, trying to get us out of there, And so I was just kind of like, oh, and just trying to keep the boys occupied, 13-year-olds. So he gets on his phone and he tries to book airline tickets to get out the very next morning because the hurricane was supposed to hit the very next day. So, later on, like in the evening, kind of early mornings of the following day. So I guess like day and a half. So he thought, okay, we're going to get on a plane. We're going to get out of here. So he books these tickets. We pack our bags. We've only been there a day and a half. We were already late getting in there, as I already told you, because of the tropical storm. And then we all get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. We catch a shuttle to the airport. We get to the airport. We stand in line. We go through all of our stuff to find out, like, you guys aren't going nowhere. Sorry, we're not going to let you go. You're not going. We don't have any room available for you on the flights. We're all sold out. Not going to happen. So that was a moment of, crap, we're going to really do this. We're really going to be in the middle of potentially a Cat 5, Cat 4 hurricane coming at us. And we're not getting out of here. And so we knew, like, that we were going to have to do a lot of praying and just completely put this all in God's hands. And that was like the minute I knew right then and there. I was just like, okay, God, you must want us here because otherwise we would have gotten out. I'm a firm believer in that. And everything always happens for a reason. So I was just like, well, we're here, so we're going to get through this. So we ended up going back to our place that we checked out of and did all that. And we said, hey, we're here. And we're like, what are you going to do with all the people who are going to have to go through the hurricane, today? What's the plan? Are we going to get moved up higher? Are you moving us? Especially people who had beachfront, stuff. And they were just like, oh, we'll just let you know. And so like, okay. So people oddly went along with their business for like the first hour of the day. Some people are in the swimming pool, some people are in the ocean, but the people down in Cancun were working extremely hard. They were gating up everything. They were boarding up everything. They were, obviously putting up shutters because they've been through this before, because the last time that they had went through it, like a Cat 5, Cat 4 hurricane was that Hurricane Wilma. So that was a few years back, and it really caused a lot of damage down there. I guess it took months and months and months for them to repair and get rebuilt and everything. So that's what they were anticipating. So here they were working hard, but yet a lot of the tourists who were down there visiting, they still didn't really have a clue on what was going on, what we were going to do. It was just complete chaos. There was really kind of a little bit of a lack of communication, I'm going to say, but we were all just kind of just like, okay, we'll just wait and see what they tell us. Well, we make it through the hotel lobby. We get in there, and they're like, you guys have 1 hour. It's like, 1 hour to what? They're like, you have 1 hour. Go pack a change of clothing and then get down here, and you guys we're gonna load you all on a bus, and we're gonna ship you into a shelter. It's like, what? I wouldn't want to be in a shelter where I'm from, let alone going off into a shelter in a different country where I have no idea where we're going. And then you've got control freak Brian with us, and then you've got the boys, and he's not a control freak, but like I said, being a fireman, he's in charge. So he's just like, we're all kind of like scrambling. You're like, what do you mean? So they didn't mention anything about pillows, blankets, nothing, just a change of clothing, and let's go. So we go to the room, and we're all just like, kind of like, what are we going to do here? What's going to happen? Where are they going? Where are they shipping us? We didn't know. And so we did grab just a quick change of clothes. I stuffed everything in my purse that I could. I just put a bag of goldfish. I put some Chex Mix, a couple cups, because I thought you could use these cups for anything. Split up snacks, if you have to use the restroom. I didn't know where we were going. So that's funny in itself. And then I grabbed a couple pillows, because I thought, okay, maybe we're going to need a couple pillows. I don't know, because I was thinking we're going to sleep on at least some cots. Okay, so we get down into the lobby. Everybody's jammed down there. It's like 400 people from this particular place we're staying at. And then there's just buses galore all over the place on the hotel zone, just trying to pick people up and get them off the shore, get them into shelter. So it's just like they were just placing people wherever they really could get them. And so we hop on this bus. We don't know where we're going, for how long we're going. We know that there's this massive hurricane coming in towards us. We don't know how much damage it's going to cause, or when or if we're going to get out of Cancun. It's just like we just didn't know. And so that was our kind of experience with it. And so when we get to the shelter, it's a middle school, and you can just see the fear in people, because the unknown. Because there was elderly people there. There were people there who had just gotten married. There were people there who had had surgery. One of the people who got placed in our room, she had just had a massive back surgery, came down there to relax, to try to heal her body. All of a sudden now she's going to be laying on a concrete floor with a little tiny mat that's this thin. You had people with their children, their babies, you name it, it was happening. And there was 2 bathrooms, 400 of us, and we're shoved in. And so that part, and it was warm. That day it was warm, and it was humid. And so we get into our room, and they just kept pushing more and more people in there. Here we are in the middle of COVID, so I'm sure people were freaking out about that just in itself. Social distancing went out the window that day. They just needed to get people into rooms so that they'd have a place to be protected from the hurricane. So they handed you a quick mat, and that was it. There was no blankets, there was no pillows. So I'm grateful we did bring our pillows, at least a couple of them with us, but that was it. So you had your little mat, and then later on that evening, we did go and ask one of the nice people who helped out. It was so wonderful. A couple people from the hotel came with us to try to kind of keep us calm. They had some towels, so we were able to grab a towel to cover up with. And so that was just kind of like the beginning of it. So, like I said, there was just a lot of fear going on with a lot of different people from all over the place, all over the world, really, because people travel down there from all over the world. So you could really see God working in the midst of this. Because that's what I needed to focus on. Okay, God, we're here. I don't know what's going to happen. This is completely out of our control. And as a believer, I just knew that He was going to protect us. He was going to be with us regardless, no matter what had happened. I knew that okay, God, you're going to be with us. You're going to put a hedge of protection around everybody here. And, and really it was in His hands. And, what I wanted to talk about the most in this is that I seen the greatest of humanity, honestly, there, because I seen people helping elderly people with their suitcases and their luggage. We seen people trying to help with their babies and their children. I seen one guy, he was trying to bring people to the Lord. I loved it. So this was all from about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, because the hurricane didn't even hit until about between that 3 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock in the morning. So we had a lot of hours here in the shelter to get to know each other. But there was one man, like I was saying, that he was trying to bring people to the Lord. He was sitting in a chair like, do you know Jesus? Do you know Jesus? And he was like preaching scripture and trying to save people. And it was pretty cool. I mean, I knew he was making an impact, because, I mean, there were people that were walking away from him like, I'm going to think about this. I mean, what better time? You're about to, have a massive hurricane coming in on you. I mean, it's kind of time to start maybe thinking about some things. And I think everybody was. And so I just had some great people that were in our room. And then there were some unusual people, that were awesome. I mean, but you're kind of like, really, God? Is this how I'm going to go out? Me and this guy, we're going out together if possible? I mean, I'm like, well, But I love it. He always knows what he's doing. And you just get to know different people. And so 10 o'clock at night, we couldn't play another game of Rummy. We were sitting outside as long as we could, so we didn't have to be jammed in that room. And we knew we were going to have to go in soon, and maybe even just try to sit down and like lay in that dark little room that nobody was wanting to go into, but we knew we were going to have to. A couple people had already went in there, laid down, crashed out, and said, I'm going to do what I have to do. I don't have the beach, I don't have the booze, I don't have anything, so I'm just going to lay down and forget this is even happening and pray for, the best. But we waited until about 10 something. We went into the room, and here's what's funny is my son, he was just like, well, Mom, I'm not going to lay on that hard mat. So you and I, we can sit in these chairs and we'll put a pillow in between us and we'll sleep like this. And I was like, okay, all right, I'll do that with you. And so we get up into the room, and next thing I know, he's on that floor, on that hard mat. He's like, I'm just going to lay here for a minute. I'm like, okay. So him and his friend get comfortable, and I take a little sweatshirt and try to cover him up and keep him comfortable. And I was like, oh, gosh, he's not going to be able to sleep a wink. Look over, he's snoring. The kid is snoring. He's sleeping, sound as can be. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, this is a good thing. Maybe he'll sleep for a couple hours, to kind of take his mind off the hurricane coming in and everything. So it was like, I was glad that he was on the floor, that he was comfortable, and he was sleeping. The thing is, he slept through the whole thing. He slept through the whole entire hurricane. So that will be the joke forever. Didn't wake up once. He woke up at like 3:30 when there was some loud banging, when the electric had went out and some of the glass outside was breaking and the generators were going and everything. He woke up and he rolled over and said, I'm cold. And so I gave him another little blanket. Everybody else is like shaking from fear, but he was sleeping. So I love it. Again, God's always working, because that's my high-strung little young man. So normally he'd be up with like bells on like his dad. So it was good. But his buddy, he did stay awake. So pretty traumatizing. But anyways, we all get a couple hours of shut-eye. So I'm just going to get to the gritty here. We get a couple hours of shut-eye. I was surprised that I was even able to lay on the floor too, because I do have some like back issues and stuff. However, I laid on the floor. That's my Yorkie over there growling, making noise. I laid on the floor, and I was just like, okay, God, you've got this. You're with us. I prayed. I went outside. I shedded a couple of tears, and I said, please protect the children if nothing else. And if this is it, I love you. I'm sorry. I repented, because when you're kind of faced with that unknown, which I've been faced with a couple times this year between having COVID and then the hurricane, and it's all kind of been going and going and going. It's like 2020 for people, right? So just another unknown, for me. I was just like, okay, I'm just going to put everything in your hands. And one of my fears was there was a lagoon really close by to where we were at, and I thought it was going to flood, and there was going to be crocodiles and snakes. I mean, I was thinking everything. I was also thinking worst case scenario, people were going to trample each other, because we're stuffed in this room and there was windows and stuff. So I thought, oh, once it starts breaking, people are going to be running and screaming. And so, of course, the enemy trying to plant lies in your head. Or, things like that do happen. I just wasn't, again, sure what was going to happen. So we're in the room, it's 10 o'clock, Luke's sleeping, his buddy's laying there. I finally lay down, try to get a little shut-eye, and then it's like around like 3 o'clock in the morning, or probably about 2:30ish. We'll go to 2:30. The winds really are coming in. You're hearing everything start to slam. Everything's starting to really get going and stuff. Well, of course, I have to go to the bathroom. I have to go pee in the middle of a hurricane. I know it's personal, but it's funny, because it's like, go figure. It's in the middle of a hurricane, and I have to go pee. And so I wake up Brian, and I'm like, I gotta go to the bathroom. but he's not sleeping anyways. He's laying there. So he's like, all right, I'll go down with you. We're not supposed to leave our room at this point, but there's nobody really monitoring it, which I liked because they were letting us be grown-ups, be responsible, saying, hey, you shouldn't, whatever. And so I knew we were going to have to walk down and go down a floor outside to get to this restroom. And so I'm just like, I gotta go, and there was 15 people in the room. There was no way around it. So I had to tiptoe around it. Everybody was up though. They were kind of on their phones, kind of being quiet, kind of waiting. The winds are getting stronger. So I go down to the restroom, and it's like kind of like a Wyoming wind. So for me, it was kind of like, okay, I've had 70-mile-per-hour winds before, 80-mile-per-hour winds. I mean, just kind of holding on, just keeping yourself safe. But the people there, the wonderful people of Cancun who came down to help us, they actually were laying there on the ground, kind of like waiting, like with the generator and stuff, waiting for the hurricane, looking after like everybody and just kind of outside overseeing it. And again, I could just see God working there because there was a peace and a calm to them. And I'm actually so glad that I got to see that, because as we were all scared and nervous and stuff, these people down there, there was just a couple of them laying down there, but they were laughing and they were smiling and they were actually looking up at the sky. And I thought, okay, so they just definitely had a peace to them. And I'm sure a peace because they've lived through it, they know it, maybe not quite as alarmed, but really just a peace overall. And to me, I thought that was exactly what I needed to see, because as they were calm, then it calmed me, it calmed my soul and stuff. And I had one guy who was like working there too, and he said, just imagine that you're at the beach and the wind's blowing, and he goes, just picture the ocean. And I thought, oh, thank you for that, because I bet somebody probably told him that as a young child, that made him feel better when they were going through these type of storms or something like that. So I just thought it was a really cool ordeal, and so I was able to go back and kind of just lay there. But from this point forward, we were all pretty much up, because then the winds really, really started to kick in, and everything was going, and we lost power, and we lost the generator, and we had glass breaking, and obviously trees falling and stuff. But overall, it didn't end up being quite as bad as they thought. It only came in at like a Cat 3 and turned into a Cat 2 once it had made landfall. So it was half of what they thought. So it was half of the destruction. But even then, it was a lot of destruction. But needless to say, we all stayed up about 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. Everything started to kind of subside a little bit as it started to move through, because it was a fast-moving hurricane. Thank you, Jesus. And we all got up and we kind of went about our day just a little bit. We sat there in the shelter for another day, just kind of waiting to get out of there. But we were able to get back into our hotel, and even then we didn't have electricity, you didn't have the warm water, but we didn't even care. I mean, just the things that you take for granted. We had a comfortable bed, and we had each other. We were all healthy, we were all whole, and we had, it's just like we were so grateful and thankful. And driving even back to the hotel, you seen like the devastation that it had caused, lots obviously to the hotels, lots of trees, lots of, power cords, that kind of stuff. However, there was even a blessing in that, because people were able to hopefully work through that, because I know that they had been struggling, like obviously with the COVID, but this, you've seen so many people out the next day cutting up the trees and then lifting up power lines and restoring the hotels. I mean, working so hard cleaning out the swimming pools, and I'll have to post pictures at some point of that. I mean, it was quite miraculous, but I just thought even there, it's like God's always working, giving them jobs, giving them money, supplying our needs like he always does. He's always sustaining us. And so anyways, the following day, I made sure to journal about it in my handy dandy journal, because I didn't want to miss one single detail. So I just talked about it a ton in here, because I don't ever want to forget the experience, but I also don't want to ever forget like how God brought us through it and just the whole thing all together. And so I just wanted to share our hurricane story, and that we survived Hurricane Delta in Cancun, and hopefully we're not going to have to experience one for a long time. So needless to say, we probably won't be going anywhere tropical in the month of October, or I don't know, November, I don't think. But maybe one day we'll end up moving somewhere like Florida or something. That would be fantastic, and just maybe fly back to Wyoming for a couple months during that season. So anyways, thanks for tuning in. It was fun chatting, and I hope you enjoyed our story, and God bless, and take care and be safe. Bye.